Okay, so in this video, I'm going to use a Google spreadsheet to calculate the standard deviation, or to approximate the standard deviation, because we don't know what the real one would be. Given that all I have access to is a frequency distribution, so all I have is this distribution. Where I have classes. I could, regardless of what the data is from. I have in my first class between 22 and 39, there were 4 data in that class. Between 40 and 57, there were 10 data in that class, and so on. So I don't know the data exact values anymore. I just have these frequencies for each of the classes. So how can I approximate this? Well, we did something similar when we approximated the mean from frequency distributions. I don't know of these 4 data in my first class, how many of them were 22s, maybe 4 of them were 20, one of them was 35, and one of them was 37. I have no idea. My best shot, or what we're approaching, to say, well, I'm going to assume that I'm going to consider that all those 4 values were equal to the midpoint, to between 22 and 39. That these 10 values on the second class were the midpoint between 40 and 57. Yeah, so that's my best shot. So I'm gonna use that to approximate the mean, and then that also to find the standard deviation. So I'm gonna copy these values here. I kind of already had the space for that, because I'm gonna use this one for the midpoint. Okay, so I'm gonna copy here and just say I'm gonna find the midpoint. So I find the midpoint by doing equal to this value. So I'm going to type equal. I can type A5, right? Or you can just click it, right? So I'm going to put A5. Sorry, I'm going to need a parentheses. We're going to add A5 plus B5 and divide by 2. So close the parentheses and divide by 2. So that's the one. And Google Sheet was smart enough to say, do you want to fill a table with this value? Sometimes this is not what you want, so just be careful. But in this case, this is what I want. I do want to just add them and divide by 2 every number in this column, so I can do it. Okay. Oops, I didn't click on it, so it didn't work out. So I have to click with the mouse. I just press enter and it didn't work. So cool. So I want to copy it. So I'm going to copy the formula from here. I do Command C. With my arrow go down, keep the Shift button in, and then select the next cells where I want to paste it, and then Command V pastes it. If you're in a PC, it would be Control C, Control V. Okay, so those are my midpoints. And now, so what am I doing? I'm assuming that, so what's going on here is that I'm assuming that all these 4 values are going to be 30.5s. Yeah, I have 10 values that are now 48.5, and so on. So instead of adding 30.5 plus 30.5 plus 30.5 4 times, I'm going to multiply them, right? So I'm going to add a new column that's going to say it's going to be equal to midpoint. Oh, shoot. I'm going to type here midpoint times the frequency. I'm just going to type it here times the frequency. Oh, this was supposed to be frequency, right? I somehow got that switch. I hope that was not there at the beginning. That was the frequency. Okay, so I'm going to multiply the midpoint times the frequency. So I'm going to multiply here equal C5 times D5. And I'm going to click now the arrow. That's how you do it. Enter wouldn't work, and it multiplies every number. Okay, so you can check it when you type here that it did C6, D6. Scroll down, C7, D7. I'm seeing the values of the formula up here. Okay, so I'm scrolling with these, but if you every time you're there, you see what's happening up here in the formula bar, I think it's called. Okay, so I got the right thing. So then these are the sums of the these are the products. Sorry. So if I would have added 30.5, 4 of those, 48.5, 10 of those, right? I would have got these values. So all I need to do now is add them, right? So I want to equal to the sum of E5 to E10. So that's the sum, and so that's the sum of all the values of my midpoints times their frequencies. So now to find the mean, I'm going to label it somewhere here. There's no way to label it, right? I can't write a formula and text in the same box. Well, there should be a way, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to type mean here, and then that's a text box. And the next, I'm going to put the formula. I'm going to be equal. I want to that number, the number I got from sum, divided by the number of data I have. Now, I don't have 5 data points, right? That's another thing. Remember here, I don't know how many data points I have. I had 4 in that class, 10 in that class, and so on. But I really don't know. So I should add these values, right? If I add the frequencies, I'm going to know. So let me add these. Equals to the sum. This is column D, so D5 to D10. So I have 49 data points. Okay, I didn't know that. So now I have to divide. Okay, now I know what the mean is going to be. It's going to be this number, then what I got from the sum, divided by, and I can type 49, or it's a better practice because if I want to change things with the formula later to copy D11, right? So that way, whatever number, if I update my table up here because I have an extra data point, if I change that for a 5 because I have an extra data point, that number changes automatically to 50, and this number gets divided by 50. While if I would have typed the 49 directly, I would have to go back and change it. So I'm going to go back to my original numbers. I had a 4 there, right? Now, I have all these decimals. Sometimes it bothers us, and then we want to make it smaller. That's decimal points. You can do that from up here. Decrease decimal points as many as you want. Okay. Okay, so this is the medium, the midpoint times the frequencies. Now, what I wanted to find is a standard deviation. I haven't got there yet. I've just found the mean. Now, the standard deviation says I need to find each data value minus the mean, square that, add them, and so on. But I'm going to do the same approach that I did so far. I need to find, I don't have the value, so I'm going to use the midpoint again. So I'm going to do midpoint. Oh, I did something wrong again. Let me press Command Z and does that. Okay, so I want to do midpoint minus mean. Right, I'm just labeling what is happening in that column. Sometimes it's good to see what's going on. And I can do it in 2 steps, or I can square it in the same step, right? I can do that and say I'm going to square it in the same step. But if you want to see it in 2 steps, this one you can leave it like that, and then in the next term square it. But you don't need to do it in 2 steps. So I'm going to do it 2 steps just for clarity. So the step says subtract the xi from the mean, but I don't have the xi, so I'm doing the midpoints, right? So I'm going to do here equal the midpoint minus, and again, it's better practice to use this entry because if I, like I said, if I change that value, then I'll have to type it again, right? But because I'm going to copy the formula down, I'm going to do the trick that I showed before. Oops, sorry. That you have to type here a $ between between the F and the 13. So that will make you. I'm not going to allow this to tell you what's going to happen because now I'm going to copy that and paste it. And if you notice, what's going to paste, everyone copied the F13 with a $. If the F13 didn't have a $, when this formula got pasted for each cell, see what happened when it pasted, the C5 became a C6, became a C7, and so on. If I didn't have the $, this would have been F14, F15, F16, and so on. Every will decrease down, will go down by 1, and I don't want that, right? So I don't want the F13 to change in my formula. That $ is in my original one up here is preventing it from that. Okay. And again, this is a good practice to do because again, if you have to change your data set because you said, oh, okay, I have this, I had to include one more data point and made that 4 or 5. But the moment I press enter, everything gets recalculated with the new mean, the new differences, and all that. While if I would type it by hand, you would have to go back and each one separate it, redo it, right? Okay, so those are the mid minus the means, and now my next formula would be square those. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to copy that value. Oh no, sorry. I'm going to put here equal, and this is the value in F5 squared. Square in computer means this symbol. It's the shift of number 6. So that's the power, and so that's the caret, I think so. And then yeah, I think it will fill. That's what I want. If you use a suggestion, the autofill, just be sure that it does it every time. Okay, like go and scroll. Is it doing what I want? That's F7 squared. That's F8 squared, and so on. So yes, it's doing what I want. I didn't have to do it here. So you just erase that one. Okay, so this is the sum of the, sorry, this is just the midpoints minus the mean squared. I don't have to add this yet, okay? Again, this is the contribution for each of the 4, right, that I'm considering to be 30.5s. This is the contribution to the sum. But I have 4 of them, okay? Again, for each of these 10 values that I'm considering all of them to be used as 48.5, each one of these gives me this, when you find the difference and you square it, that's what you get. So I have to do one more thing. I need to multiply by the frequencies, this value again. So I need to type here again what I had. Again, this is just because I want to label what's happening. I'm going to do midpoint minus mean. I'm squaring it, and then I'm going to multiply times the frequency. Okay, so that's what was missing here. So we're not done. So now I need to just copy this number. Sorry, put the equal sign, and put this number, which is G4. You can type it or just click on it, right? Sorry, G5. And then you're going to multiply. The multiplication is with the asterisk, right? The shift of number 8 times the frequency, which is over here in D5, right? You can type it D5 or you can click on it. D5. And press enter. And it auto-suggest. I'm going to say OK to auto-suggest, but remember, always check, is it doing, this was equal G5, D5, right? This is G6, D6, this is G7, D7, and so on. So it looks like it's good, right? This is what I want to do, okay? Again, this should not be that. This get an extra fill there. Just if you want to have some formatting here, just because these were the titles, let me make those bold, maybe like these, probably. And if you want to put them by colors and that, you don't have to, but if you wonder where you get that, you click up here in this little box and you select the color from the palette here. Okay, so now I'm almost there. I need to add these values. So equal sum of H5 to H10, right? You can find the average, right? Because that's really what you did. You add them and divide by how many you have. But it's really not the average if the data comes from a sample, right? So I'm going to assume that this was a sample. So I'm going to divide it by n minus 1, not by n. So in that sense, I couldn't have just found the averages because you don't divide by n. You divide by n minus 1 if it's a sample. So now my standard deviation approximation, I'm going to type it like this. Okay, just to label it. And when I say label it, you can, sometimes we like to do something like this and say, okay, this is the same thing. And here I'm going to do it. My final answer is here. Just put it yellow. My standard approximation is going to be equal to the square root. That's how you type square root. Okay, SQRT, parentheses, this number, but I haven't divided by. So I have to divide by, I can just type 48. Or this number divided minus 1. Again, you can just type the 48, but it's better practice to type divided by, I'm going to put a parentheses, which is D11 minus 1. Again, that's the parentheses for the denominator. I need another parenthesis for the square root. And enter. Oops, I did something wrong. Let's find out. Oh, this is what's wrong. I had an extra underscore there. There you go. So that's my standard deviation approximation, right? I don't have the correct or the real one because I don't have the data itself, but this is my best shot if all I have is the frequency distribution. Okay, and again, the way I wrote it down here with D11 minus 1 allows me that if I change more, if I add somebody up here, I put a 5, the moment I press enter, everything gets recalculated with the 5. This went down to 50. These subtracted the 50 each time. Those squares here I'm dividing by 49 instead of 48. Yeah. Okay, so that's the best way to do it. Okay, so this is how you would do standard deviation if all you have is a frequency distribution, and it makes a lot of sense to do it in a spreadsheet.